Hey guys, so guess what? Using a light modifier is not that hard. There's a few things that you do need to know. Let's see if I can help you out. Now, first of all, the first thing I want you to know is, regardless of what light modifier you use, the interaction of the speed light setting that you have, meaning how much power you're giving to your light source versus the aperture as well as the shutter speed, will affect how much light coverage you're getting from your modifier. Hold on, let me explain that, okay? So here's the thing. If you have your shutter at, say, 1/125th, and you have your power at a half a power, you're gonna get more coverage of that light source through that light modifier than you would if you just changed that shutter speed to 1/200th of a second. The reason being is that you're opening and closing that aperture so much faster that that same amount of light is gonna show up as a smaller amount of light, which means as opposed to you getting that full spread, you're only going to get a portion of that spread. And I'll show you that in a minute. So the first thing I want to show you is a transparent umbrella. Now, let's say we're using this transparent umbrella for our light modifier. We're going to use this adapter, which is the Godox S2 speedlight bracket. Let's look at two things, okay? One, when you open your umbrella, you're going to insert it into a hole similar to what you see or may see right here. You simply slide it in. There's a little tension on it to hold it, so you may have to put a little pressure on it. So when you go to insert your strobe or your light source in general, what you want to do is open it up and put it so that, for instance, this light fixture has a lens that actually moves back and forth according to the setting that's on the strobe. So you want to put it in so that portion of the lens is not restricted by the pressure that you're applying to just hold this into the bracket. So after that, what you want to try to do is whatever light that you have, you want to at least have it where you're getting the biggest coverage of your modifier. So if you got a 43-inch umbrella or if you have a 72-inch umbrella, you got that modifier for a reason. So you want to try to use as much of it as possible in the beginning. Now, as you get used to it and you learn what it's doing and what it's not doing, you can adjust that. Again, these are just guidelines, okay? So what if this light only had a spread that would go this far? That will only go to about this point. Well, what you would do would be push it further so the light spread that's going there is getting wider because it's further away. And this is gonna be the same principle whether it's a shoot-through umbrella or if it's a reflective umbrella. Let's say that you're not using an umbrella. Say that you're using a softbox. And it doesn't matter the shape of the softbox. Let's say that we're using this 34-inch beauty dish, which is a softbox. So what we'll do is, so that you can see it, hopefully, we'll take this off, which is simply placed on by these clips all the way around. Now this is an umbrella style softbox. You have some softbox that you actually have to put together as far as the rod and the speed ring. This one, you simply press this portion down until you line it up over this pin and voila. And then you take these and snap this back to these clips. Now what this does is this will diffuse the light the first time while it's bouncing around. And then there's another layer of diffusion that goes in here that simply lines this up, which gives it a second layer of diffusion. Now just remember, each time your light travels through one of these diffusion points, you're gonna lose a little bit of light. So if I remember correctly, I think you'll lose 1.5 stops of light using both of these. Don't quote me on that, but I think it's 1.5 stops. Different manufacturers use different thicknesses to diffuse the light. So let's take this a slight different way. I want to take my light out of this bracket because what I don't want to do is I don't want to put this modifier on here and I damage my light. There are no electronic parts that's in here or any sensitive parts that's in here per se compared to whatever light modifier or light source you're using. Now remember, with your light modifier, whichever one you're getting, there's typically some type of rating that may be on there. Say for instance, this modifier will handle up to 300 watts, I think. So most softbox have some sort of ratings on them. Some you can use up to 150, 200, 300, 600, whatever watts. This one, I don't recall the exact wattage limitation, but I definitely would not use more than 600 watts on this flash or continuous. And if I use some sort of continuous lighting, I would probably keep an eye on it to make sure that no portion of it gets hot enough that it may melt. Let's put the front diffuser panel on, and it's relatively simple. Just start at the point and try to stretch it out all the way around. We'll try to get a good seal on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick this in far enough that it'll get a wide spread in here. Now, I'm not just referring to the light bouncing on the sides, because that it will do. But what I want to do is I want to give this light a chance to spread as much as possible on its own first, and then start bouncing around. Again, not restricting the motor that's going to adjust the light angle itself, and just snug enough to hold it. Now, for this test, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna set this light over on this wall, and we're gonna pull the light back about 6 feet. And that's going to be 6 feet from the face of this light modifier. What I'm going to do is I'm gonna continue to record on the Sony ZV-E10, but I'm also going to get my other camera out, which is a Sony a7 III, and I'm going to use a 24-70 f2.8 lens by Sigma. I'm going to put a trigger on top of my camera to control the strobe. Let's see what we look like if we just turn the house lights off altogether, because I want to control the lights. So what do you see? I am going to adjust my ISO. It was 250, but we're going to take it up to 1600. Let's take it to 2000. The Sony ZV-E10 is recording at 1/60th, f2.2, ISO 2000. I'm going to take a picture using the Sony a7 III, and my settings on this camera at the moment as it stands is 1/125th, f2.8, ISO 2000. Okay, that's the picture with just the camera settings that I shared with you. You see about what it looks like in the room. I'm going to turn this controller on, and what we're going to do is we have the flash set at 1/128th of a second. This picture will be at 1/60th of a second. Okay, now I'm going to increase my shutter speed up to 1/250th of a second. And in this picture, you'll notice that the spread of light covers more laterally at a lower shutter speed, like 1/125th, or where I had it at 1/60th of a second. As I increase the shutter speed, that same amount of power is really being cut down, just as if you were just taking a picture outside without a flash. The same thing is happening. And I have high speed sync on, so I'm going to increase my shutter speed to 1/164th of a second. And you see what a difference that's making. So that's what happens when you have a light modifier that's properly set up, and you'll notice how the light changes the spread based off of the shutter speed. Now, of course, your ISO has something to play with that too, because remember, your ISO tells you how much light you're allowing to get to your sensor. Practice, enjoy, play. You'll capture images that you didn't even realize that was ready to be captured. Every picture does not have to be what people always call an Instagram ready. That picture may mean something to you, or that picture may mean something to your client that it means nothing to anybody else. But because your client likes that picture so much, that's one thing that makes your picture worth so much more. But anyway, I hope this little tip is helpful. Grab your camera, go create. God bless.